everybody, welcome back to the shop. So this is going to be the third and final video on the big air for a small shop series. Finally got that project done. It was pretty much just a part-time effort for me, and it took me, I don't know, a full month. Got the piping ran throughout the building. I had to run another different gauge supply line for the power to my compressor. Went ahead and broke down and bought a magnetic switch for my compressor and got it all wired up, and have more air stations than I've ever had before in this shop. I was really making do with a little small Craftsman. Really one air hose at a time really is what I was limited to. I really don't know how to act with all these air stations, but I was going to take you through the project, the final result, and some of the thought that went into it. Okay, might as well start off with the air compressor first. Recent equipment adds. I happened to be in Vegas on a business trip, and Granger had this Condor pressure switch available, and it was sized right. It was capable to work with a 5 horsepower motor. And the problem I found locally was that all I could find was pressure switches for like a 1 and 2 horse. That was as big as they had nearby me. So anyway, big town, a lot more options. Found this pressure switch. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the pressure switch. I do think that they kind of cheaped out with regards to the on and off switch. It's got a, you know, it's plastic, of course, which isn't that big of a deal, but the shaft that this pivots on is plastic as well, and I see that as a problem in the future. But I'm just gonna have to be careful and, you know, don't use guerrilla tactics when it comes to operating this switch. I've got it turned on right now. We'll run it here in a second. But here's the information on this particular pressure switch. It was about $100 or near it. Really not much else I can say about it. Pretty standard. The configuration on the inside was a little bit different. It had terminals down both sides on the front, so you had to stab it in to one side, and the out got stabbed into the other side. For some reason, it was giving me a problem as far as communicating with my on and off switch here on my magnetic starter. I finally let it beat me, and I pulled out the controls for the magnetic starter. I probably could have got her wired up, but you know, I was reaching the end of the enjoyable time for this project and needed to make air happen. So for right now, the on and off switch for my mag switch is not working, and I have no idea when I'm going to get it working. But one of the things that I'm really happy with so far, and we'll do a little bit of performance testing here in a sec, but one, the air manifold is working great. It pulls out a lot of water. I've run my air compressor a couple of times today. It cycled a few times. Let's see what we got here. You see all that water? A lot of water. And that check valve in my my tank, you know, it's not letting it leak any air, so it's not under pressure. Drain this off a couple times during the day and be good. I had to, my aux tank's got a problem. I've got a leak up here, so I'm going to end up having to remove this and cut this out or grind it out and try to weld it again. So I haven't been able to see the value added with this aux tank yet. I got to get it fixed first. You see what else? This tank right now when it comes out, when the air comes out of this tank, you can see I'm taking everything through this water separator before it ends up going to my system. So I have noticed no water at all in my shop system. It has really been super dry air. And this one here on the inlet side going into the tank, I put this thing in there and I didn't know if it was going to be a waste of a control or what. I didn't know if there's going to be enough water to justify it in this location, but it has been working. It drips automatically, and so it's been doing the job there. So let's see here. I just drained off that manifold. Let's see what exists in the tank. Not much. Not much. This valve right here is going to run a leg that I haven't got in place yet, but it's going to go along the side of my shop and take care of my sandblaster. And I've also got this set of 3 here. I'm gonna set up a paint center off of these right here out here. So I'm gonna have a couple of connections to run some painting applications out here, which will be really nice. So that's the outside. Let's go inside and see where we're at. So this is the first station that you come to when it comes into the building. And you see I've got it teed. It goes straight up and shoots into the shop. This 2 plug-ins, it's got its own control valve. Every branch has got its own control. So I can manifold this, turn this system to whatever is required for that particular room's operation at the time with individual controls. This part of my shop is eventually going to be wood shop, but as you can see, I've got a lot of crap I got to get out of here first. Right now, my wood shop's been relegated to a small corner, and it's really not very functional right now. I can really just use one piece of equipment at a time, like the table saw, but would like to get the planer and the joiner and the router table off in its own space, and then that will help me convert this area over to a big shop for fab. And I'll be able to push out to the wall. Right now I'm kind of divided here in the middle. And once I get it opened up, I'll be able to take my my box and pan brake and get it over in the fab area. I've got an English wheel that I'll be able to get over in the fab area. So, anyway, took the air in the shop, ran it up along, had to do some maneuvering up in this corner. Drop down the wall. This is my second station. You can see I've got kind of a blow off area here to if there is moisture in the lines. But it's been really dry so far. And I don't think I've ever seen any water drip from this right here. Dry as a bone. So I've got 2 plug-ins here, and then I branch off and go up and over to the side of the shop. And I take that over. I got this is my first reel. Proud owner of a overhead reel. Just got it teed off. And then make a turn, drop down. Now this is the part of my shop I went ahead and took it down to a 1/2 inch. Everything else is 3/4. Why did I turn this into a 1/2 inch? I really don't have a good reason other than I had materials available. And I'm really only using this system right here. I'm only using this for my plasma cutter. I might use it for some small air applications, but also I've got some pictures and some video. This is an old paint booth filter that I converted into a dryer with those beads and everything. I've got some pictures to describe the process. Gave me a really cheap alternative to create another air dryer, and as I understand it, the requirement for dry air for a plasma cutter is a pretty big deal. It'll either make it work or it won't. So I wanted to have something deliberate in line for the plasma cutter, so there it is. And then I've got a control valve here. It requires 70 psi, basically 65 to 75. So I'm going to control it from right there. Let me see. So going to my last station. You see that main branch continues over and turns, and then up there above my Gulf sign I make it drop down and into the wall, and then it comes down the wall and pops out, and then I'll show you what my station looks like over there. And if you can see right there, I have it coming out and staying in the wall, and it goes up into the attic. And I ran it up in the attic because I believe that I might end up taking it through the attic and run a station outside at a later date. Right now I just got it teed off. Here's my last station. Again, this is coming in, and then I got a little blow off area. Like I said, I haven't been getting any water in the system. And then I got a filter, a couple of ports, and then it goes up and then to the attic. So that is my air situation. Huge improvement. This equipment that I'm using, THB, I bought these off of Amazon. Quality's pretty good. I'm happy. I have no complaints so far. Definitely a much more advanced system than I really need, but you know, it's kind of like going to the grocery store and you're hungry. My air compressor was out, and I've been envisioning this air system for a long time, so just went ahead and I did it. Let me see, what else do I got going on here? Oh, my air compressor, I thought that there might have been a chance that I was starving my air compressor for power. I had some 10 gauge wire originally, and doing some calculations, I thought I might have been a little bit short So I changed my supply and put a 40 amp double breaker in there, and I've got 8 wire now as my supplies. A couple of final thoughts on the project here before I put this video together. One, the biggest driver for me doing this big air project was that, one, I didn't have enough air in the shop. Second was I needed the capacity to achieve some sandblasting on occasion, and I also want to do some painting as well. Having different stations with different requirements. So like I mentioned before, having my plasma on the one side of the shop, it required a supply and a valve that had a setting which is 65 to 75 psi that was going to be unique unto itself. Other equipment that I would be operating in the shop would have, a 95 or 100 psi requirement to keep them going. And that spans both metalworking and woodworking, and I try to do both whenever I need to. So hope you enjoyed the video. My apologies if it was long. I'm going to try to boil it down to where it's something that's digestible. Hopefully you get some ideas with your own system, and I'll try to get this system to work on some interesting projects for more videos in the future. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Again, small channel, trying to grow. Tap the bell. Stay safe, stay corona free. Go out in the shop and get away from people. It's a beautiful thing. Catch you later.